Hey guys, how's it going? It's Danconia and welcome back to the Overwatch League Roundup 2020 Week 25 preview. So, Week 24 was an interesting one. It was a bit shorter than this Week 25. This Week 25 is going to see 14 fixtures, our biggest week in the league this season, and it's actually going to get bigger as further down the line we go. There's a lot of fixtures to cram into this one, so we're going to go kind of just crack on straight into it. And on Friday, 8 PM BST, July the 24th, we will see the Atlanta Raid taking on the Boston Uprising. So, Boston Uprising had a torrid week last week. Not just to the fact that Color Hex got his, he got embarrassed by Super on the Genji, but Atlanta Rain had a decent week last week. I think I remember recalling they got the job done, or something like that. They did lose to the Mayhem, but that's no mean feat. Like, Mayhem are a decent team. I would expect the Rain to get a healthy victory over the Boston Uprising though. If the Rain want to really try and push for the better seeding, they're currently 9th, but that could be better. They have a really good map differential compared to the likes of Valiant above them, maybe even Paris, Florida. They are within distance. They're in catchable distance. So they need to get a 3-0 here, in my opinion. Boston Uprising, a win. Just a win. Anything? I don't know. A map? I really don't know with this Boston Uprising team anymore. Yeah, I don't see much in terms of hope for this Boston Uprising team, but Atlanta Rain, I would expect a 3-0 win here. Then we have got an interesting match, a really interesting match. 10 PM, Florida Mayhem taking on the San Francisco Shock. So, this is the rematch of the main Melee final, which ended in a 4-2 victory for the Shock in the end, but the Florida Mayhem gave it a real darn good go. But the Mayhem haven't looked as good since. It'll be interesting to see what the Mayhem do. We saw Byram last week. I mean, I wouldn't expect to see Byram this week, unless it's unless it's their later match this week. But this is a tall order. The Shock have just signed Tayo, the Japanese DPS player who can play hit scan, but more importantly, he's a very good Genji player. So I'm not expecting to see Super on the Genji. Not gonna lie, but this should be interesting. I would have to back the Shock to get a win here, but this is where I want the Florida Mayhem to step up and show, hey, yeah, maybe we can't beat the Shock, but we're still right up there with them. We can still really, really compete with them. If the Mayhem were to get swept here, I would be saying, oh, Mayhem have really kind of, not really fallen off, but have fallen off from where they were in the Melee, and it was definitely Meta that got them where they were. But if they can stick with the Shock and still lose, say it's a 3-2 or a 3-1 even to the Shock, then I think the Mayhem are pretty good for that. If the Mayhem can get a win, which I think they have the quality to, then, well, that would be pretty darn massive. That would be pretty darn massive. But we move to APAC now on the Saturday, in the morning, I should say, for BST. It's 9 AM. We see the Seoul Dynasty taking on the Chengdu Hunters. So Seoul got pasted by the Hangzhou Spark last week, 3-0. The Chengdu Hunters got a, they got a 3-2 victory over the NYXL via a reverse sweep that no one could have predicted after the first two maps. Who knows with the Chengdu Hunters? I mean, we always talk about the Chengdu zone. You enter the zone sometimes with Chengdu, and Seoul Dynasty are very, very capable of entering that zone. Seoul Dynasty, we know how iffy they are in the regular season, whether that's down to the fact that, I don't know, they just don't care, or I don't know what it is, but this should be a 3-0 for Seoul Dynasty, but I will emphasize the should be a 3-0 for the Seoul Dynasty. Should. Chengdu Hunters, I mean, it should have been a 3-0 victory for the New York Excelsior, and look what happened there. Who bloody knows with that team, but Seoul, you should get a win here. You really should. Moving on, at 11 AM, we have the Shanghai Dragons taking on the London Spitfire. It is the Spitfire's only match this week, and, I mean, the 3-1 loss to the Guangzhou Charge, they looked good on the first map, but that was because JMac wasn't playing Winston. As soon as JMac was on the Winston, things absolutely crumbled for the Spitfire against Guangzhou Charge. And if they have to go up against Fearless's Winston, Fearless versus JMac, oh dear. I mean, there isn't a contest, is there? I mean, we could probably make an argument for Fearless being the best Winston in this league. So, I don't see any way London get anything from this. There should be a 3-0 for the Shanghai Dragons. The only advantage for London is the fact that they can prepare wholly and solely for that match. So, yeah, could be interesting. But what should be interesting is the match at 1 PM. This is a New York Excelsior taking on the Guangzhou Charge. So, this on paper should be a very close match. But considering the collapse that New York Excelsior had last week, and, well, Guangzhou Charge being pretty darn good, I don't think really I can look past the Guangzhou Charge winning this match. I think we have to say that the Guangzhou Charge are currently better than New York Excelsior. And I think there'll be a difference in the off-tank. Krong versus Hotbar. And, yeah, I would say it will be close. 3-2, 3-1 for the Guangzhou Charge, maybe. It kind of depends on what New York Excelsior turns up. Please don't play Who Are You? Can we have Haxel, please? Please, pretty please. Also, both Chengdu and Guangzhou, those two matches this week will take them up to 20 matches played for the season. That's pretty interesting. We are getting right into it now. But moving back to NA, 8 PM, we will see the San Francisco Shock take on the Vancouver Titans. Remember when this used to be the blockbuster? Remember when this used to be first versus second, when it used to be the mighty San Francisco Shock versus the mighty Runaway, or the ex-Runaway? It's not quite that anymore, is it? This should be a 3-0 for the San Francisco Shock. Vancouver Titans had a torrid week last week, and I expect it to continue here with their only match of the week being against our current champions. San Francisco Shock, there is a possibility to concentrate more on the Florida Mayhem, but they should have the squad depth to basically see both of these matches out, and I think this should be a 3-0 for the Shock. I wouldn't expect anything less. But talking about the other opponents for the San Francisco Shock, the Florida Mayhem, at 10 PM we will see them go against the Washington Justice. Remember when this used to be a bottom of the table clash? It's funny how times can change between seasons, isn't it? I would expect the Florida Mayhem to get a healthy victory over the Washington Justice. The Washington Justice look like Papegas at times. They really, really do, with their positioning, with their rotations. They just don't look like they're on the same page half the time, despite having really good parts to this Justice team and they're really good players. There just seems to be a lack of direction. Florida Mayhem, however, really good players. They got Kuki at the helm with the ex-Runaway coach, and I think they should get a healthy victory here. I would hope the Florida Mayhem get a 3-0 victory. Now, the only thing that I would say as a caveat for the Florida Mayhem, don't over concentrate on the Shock match and then not dedicate enough time to making sure you get this win over the Justice. You can't win the Shock match and then lose against the Justice. You're just giving away your advantage. So, yeah, I think Florida Mayhem should get a win here. Then, at midnight on the Sunday, we're going into the Sunday now, Boston Uprising taking on the Dallas Fuel. So, Boston Uprising, the absolute embodiment of Papega in the Overwatch League, versus Dallas Fuel, the absolute embodiment of inconsistency in the Overwatch League. They got a very nice 3-2 reverse sweep victory over the Houston Outlaws last week, the Dallas Fuel, and to be quite honest, they got that because they had the better main tank, and I still think that the Dallas Fuel should get a victory over the Boston Uprising. I think the Dallas Fuel should get quite a healthy victory over the Boston Uprising, to be quite honest. This needs to be a 3-0 is what I'm saying, Dallas. You're 14th in the league, and you're looking at knocking on doors of the likes of the Toronto, Defiant, Los Angeles Gladiators, Seoul, Dynasty, Hangzhou, Spark. You're looking at that mid-table clash, and this is the sort of game you really need to put to bed, and put to bed pretty easily. So I hope the Dallas Fuel get a 3-0 victory here. Boston Uprising, this is winnable. This is winnable. We have seen looks from the Boston Uprising about a month ago where they could have taken this Dallas Fuel team and made them quite embarrassed. So, yeah, I don't think this will be the easiest match for Dallas Fuel, but it should be a match that they see out 3-0. Again, it's all about consistency, Fuel. It's all about consistency. But at 2 AM, we will see the Philadelphia Fusion taking on the Los Angeles Gladiators. Gladiators had a really good week last week, getting a nice, healthy 3-0 victory. That'll be great for confidence. Philadelphia Fusion didn't play last week, so they've had plenty of time to prepare for this match, and they do have 2 matches this week, Philadelphia Fusion, but this is, both of their matches are kind of on even kilt, so they're going against the 12th place Gladiators in this one, and to be honest, the Gladiators shouldn't be able to compete with this Fusion side. The Fusion should get a fairly healthy win. The Gladiators might take a map, I wouldn't put it past them, but 3-0, 3-1 for the Fusion should be what we see here. Moving back to APAC on the Sunday though, at 9 AM we see the Chengdu Hunters taking on the Hangzhou Spark. Now, this is more clear-cut for me than the Chengdu Hunters taking on Seoul Dynasty, because you never know what Seoul Dynasty is going to show up. We know Hangzhou Spark, we know where they are, They struggle sometimes against better opponents, but this is the Chengdu Hunters. The Hangzhou Spark should be able to get a 3-0 victory over the Chengdu Hunters. I'd be incredibly surprised if they didn't. The Hangzhou Spark, they will continue to improve with Architect and Pajion coming in, and QOQ as well. So I think Hangzhou Spark should be pretty healthy for a win here. A really good win here. Chengdu Hunters, yeah. I don't know what to say about that team at times. I don't think anyone does. But after that, 11 AM, we see the Shanghai Dragons taking on the Seoul Dynasty. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Now, some people might say that this is going to be darn close. And I'd like it to be, not gonna lie. With Shanghai taking on London earlier in the week, this is possible that Shanghai get taken pretty close in both matches. But Seoul have got to make sure that they don't slip up against Chengdu, first of all. And second of all, Seoul Dynasty, this is regular season, this isn't tournament play. So I think this is a 3-0 for Shanghai. I can't go for Seoul Dynasty in this one. I can't give them credit because I just don't trust them to do anything in the regular season anymore. I just don't. The only team I see them beating in the regular season, well, maybe two, London and Chengdu. That's the only teams I see them consistently beating. And we haven't seen them go up against London in the regular season. We will see that after this Community Cup, the Countdown Cup, sorry, because we will see them play them 3 times in 2 weeks. So, yeah, I mean, I can't trust the Dynasty. So, Dragons 3-0 here. 8 PM on the Sunday, we'll see the Los Angeles Gladiators take on the Paris Eternal. Paris Eternal, fantastic week last week. Gladiators, oh my god, it's a tough week for them. I mean, Fusion, then Eternal. I mean, you're talking about runners-up of the Summer Showdown versus, and then the winners of the Summer Showdown. You can't get much tougher than that. Paris Eternal have been on a tear up, and I think it's much more likely that the Gladiators get something from the Fusion match than it is from the Eternal match right now. I think the Paris Eternal get a healthy 3-0 victory, maybe a 3-1 here. I don't see many teams beating the Paris Eternal right now, especially not in this meta. At 10 PM, we see the Toronto Defiant taking on the Philadelphia Fusion. I said the Philadelphia Fusion had some mid-table clashes this week. Toronto are in 13th compared to the Gladiators being in 12th, so it really is mid-table. Toronto have looked improved with agilities on the Genji, and Shawfor, he looked good last week as well, on the Ashe and the Sombra times, I believe, as well. But they just don't have the quality to compete with the likes of Philadelphia Fusion, not with the likes of Carpe, Hisu, Chipser. Let's see Chipser. We've seen some Doomfist. Let's see some Chipser. Give it to us, Philly. Give it to us now. Sado, Fury, Poco, Alarm, Funny Astro, Boombox. We probably might see Boombox because of some Zenyatta. But I don't see them being able to compete with them. There are some good parts of this Toronto Defiant side, but all in all, they're just below par to be competing with the likes of these teams. So I would expect a 3-1, 3-0 for the Philadelphia Fusion. And then last but not least, we have at 12 AM heading into the Monday, Washington Justice taking on Houston Outlaws. So Houston Outlaws, gut-wrenching loss last week to the Dallas Fuel. It's a hard one to take mentally, that one. I'm not going to lie. It was definitely a difference in main tanks that caused that loss. Washington Justice, however, very beatable. Very beatable. This is a game that Houston Outlaws must win, really. This is because this is the sort of, you know, when we talk about levels of quality in the Overwatch League, at the moment I would be saying that Houston Outlaws are a higher level of quality compared to the Washington Justice. So Houston Outlaws have to go out there and prove this. However, Washington Justice, this is winnable. This is really winnable. Consider the Houston Outlaws are coming off a mentally booming match last week, and you're a team that needs to start clicking, needs to start proving itself. Yeah, you've qualified for the season playoffs or the play-ins. Wow, everyone's qualified. How about a better seeding, Washington? Then you don't have to play in that very, 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 very first match if you don't finish so low. So, you know, I want to see the Justice step up, give the Houston Outlaws a match, maybe even win it. Come on, Washington Justice, do it. But I would expect Houston Outlaws to win 3-1. I'm not going to lie. So, that's where I'm going to leave it here. It's a really long week, and there's some interesting matches. Shanghai Seoul, New York versus Guangzhou, Florida versus the Shock, should be really interesting as well. Yeah, I think we're going to see some good Overwatch this weekend. We have been for the past few weeks, haven't we, with all this Genji and that. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you'd like to give a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in the next video. See you then.